The sensory overload. The emerald on the water.
You've been displaced. The dry silence of Sparta and the cold wind of the Huns are gone. You open your eyes in the year 1486. You are standing on a giant stone causeway, 3 miles long, leading into the middle of a massive lake, Lake Texcoco. This is Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. In the 21st century, you know it as Mexico City, a place of concrete and traffic. In the 15th century, it is the Venice of the West. It is a city that should not exist. It is a metropolis of 200,000 people built entirely on water. The first thing that hits your sleeper senses is the color. In your world, cities are gray. Tenochtitlan is a blinding white and vibrant red, reflecting off the water. The air smells of wet earth marigolds and copal incense, but there's a sharp metallic undertone, the smell of fresh blood from the great temple, Templo Mayor. You see volcanoes on the horizon, smoking like sleeping giants. The sound is not the clashing of bronze, but the rhythmic slap-slap of thousands of oars in the canals. You are in a world where there are no horses, no wheels, and no iron. Everything is moved by human muscle and obsidian glass. You are a sleeper, and you have just entered a high-tech civilization that lives in the Stone Age.
The biological shock. The maze protocol.
In the simulation, your 21st century metabolism faces a unique crisis. There are no cows, no pigs, and no sheep. Your body, used to heavy animal fats and processed sugars, must adapt to the maze energy cycle. You sit at a market in Tlatelolco. You're offered tlaxcali, corn tortillas, and a dark, bitter liquid in a golden cup, Zocalo chocolate. You take a sip of the chocolate. It is not sweet. It is mixed with chili peppers and vanilla. It is thick and spicy. You use your nutritional analysis protocol. You realize that Zocalo is the 15th century version of a nootropic energy drink. The theobromine and caffeine hit your modern brain like a lightning bolt, keeping you focused in the humid heat. Your main food is maize. You understand the amino acid puzzle. Maize lacks certain proteins, but when eaten with beans and squash, the three sisters, it creates a perfect human fuel. To survive, you introduce the nixtamalization efficiency. You show the Aztec women how to use limestone and heat to break down the corn more effectively, releasing vitamin B3 niacin. In the 21st century, we call this food science. In Tenochtitlan, you are preventing a future epidemic of pellagra. You have just improved the biological endurance of the entire city. You are the master of the grain, and your modern biology has just given the Aztec warriors more stamina than they have ever had. But you feel the dark side of this diet. Everything is designed to feed the war machine. You are not eating for health. You are eating for the flowery war.
The social minefield. The logic of the flowery war.
You are brought before the Teletoni, the great speaker, a man named Quetzalcoatl. He is wearing a cloak made of thousands of hummingbird feathers. He does not look at you as a man. He looks at you as a Tlamadanim, a wise man. He asks you why the sun continues to rise. In the 21st century, you know about orbital mechanics and gravity. In Tenochtitlan, the sun rises because it is fed with calciwatal, the precious water human blood. This is your greatest psychological challenge. You see the sacrifices at the top of the pyramid. To you, it is a horror movie. To them, it is cosmic maintenance. They believe that if the blood stops flowing, the universe collapses. You use your sociological signaling protocol. You do not argue with their religion. Instead, you explain that the quality of the sacrifice is more important than the quantity. You introduce the concept of the Zocalo, the flowery war, as a controlled conflict. You suggest using your 21st century game theory to turn war into a ritualized sport where warriors are captured rather than killed on the battlefield. You explain that a live prisoner is a battery of energy for the gods, while a dead soldier is a waste of resources. By doing this, you are slowing down the total destruction of the neighboring tribes. You are a sleeper playing a dangerous game of ethics. You're trying to save lives by regulating the sacrifice. You are the architect of more efficient ritual, but you realize that you are now a part of the very system you find terrifying. You are the sage of the Emerald City, and the shadow of the pyramid is growing longer every day.
The Chinampa Revolution. Hydroponics of the Ancients.
The year is 1490. You have been in the Valley of Mexico for 4 years. You are standing on the edge of the southern lakes, in a place called Xochimilco. In the 21st century, you know this as a tourist spot with colorful boats. In the 15th century, it is a breadbasket of the empire. You see thousands of rectangular islands, separated by narrow canals. These are the chinampas. To the Spanish, they will look like floating gardens. To you, the sleeper, they are the most efficient passive hydroponic systems ever designed by man. You look at how the local farmers, Massaholton, build them. They drive willow stakes, ayotes, into the shallow lake bed to create a frame. They fill the frame with layers of aquatic vegetation and mud from the bottom of the lake. In the 21st century, we call this organic mulching. But you see a sleeper opportunity for optimization. You introduce the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, NPK protocol. You show the farmers how to use specific types of lake bottom sediment that are richer in phosphorus. You teach them the secret of intercropping. Instead of just planting maize, you show them how to plant legumes, beans, between the corn stalks to naturally fix nitrogen into the soil. You are using modern agronomy to turn a traditional farm into a high-output calorie factory. Because of your crop rotation logic, a single chinampa can now produce up to 7 harvests a year. You've just solved the calorie ceiling of the empire. The food supply is no longer a worry. It is a surplus. You see the granaries of Tenochtitlan overflowing. You have created a population explosion. The city is growing by 5% every year because the children are no longer dying of malnutrition. You are the father of the harvest. But as you look at the thousands of new mouths to feed, you realize the sleeper's burden. More people means a greater need for order, and a greater need for the gods to be fed. You made the empire stronger, but you have also made the stakes of its survival much higher.
The Aqueduct Upgrade. Fluid Dynamics and Hygiene.
Tenochtitlan is a city in the middle of a salt lake. Lake Texcoco is brackish. This is a hydrological crisis. You cannot drink the lake water. The Aztecs have built a massive aqueduct from the springs at Chapultepec, 5 miles away. It is a masterpiece of stone and mortar, but it has a flaw. It is a single-channel system. When they need to clean it, the city goes thirsty for 2 days. In the 21st century, you understand redundancy and fluid dynamics. You present a plan to the Zocalo, the Prime Minister. You suggest the dual-pipe protocol. You show the engineers how to build two parallel channels instead of one. While one channel is being cleaned of silt and algae, the other remains open. You also introduce the concept of sand filtration. At the entry point of the city, you build a series of stone basins filled with layers of volcanic sand and charcoal. In the 21st century, this is a basic water treatment plant. In 1490, it is a miracle of purity. The water in Tenochtitlan becomes the cleanest in the world. While the cities of Europe are throwing their waste into the streets and dying of cholera, the Aztecs are bathing twice a day in filtered spring water. You also introduce the sanitation fleet. You organize a fleet of canoes dedicated only to the collection of human waste, which you then use as fertilizer for the chinampas. You have created a closed-loop ecosystem. Nothing is wasted. The city is a biological machine that recycles its own energy. You are the master of the waters, and because of your 21st century hygiene logic, the sleeper has effectively deleted the possibility of a local plague. But you know the history books. You know that the real plague is coming from across the sea, and no sand filter in the world can stop a virus from the future.
The Obsidian Factory. Industrializing the Stone Age.
Tenochtitlan does not have iron. They do not have bronze. Their world is made of obsidian, volcanic glass. It is sharper than a modern surgical scalpel, but it is brittle. It breaks easily. You go to the artisans in the district of Amanalco. You see them chipping away at the black glass, making blades of macuahuitl, the wooden sword. This is a slow, manual process. You decide to use your industrial engineering protocol. You do not give them steel. That would be too much historical contamination. Instead, you give them mechanical efficiency. You show the artisans how to build a treadle-powered grinding wheel. Using a simple wooden flywheel and a foot pedal, you allow them to sharpen and shape obsidian 10 times faster than before. You also introduce the modular blade system. Usually, if an obsidian blade breaks, the whole sword is useless. You show them how to carve slots into the wood, so that individual glass teeth can be replaced in seconds during a battle. You just turn a craft into an industry. The Aztec warriors are now armed with weapons that are always sharp and easily repaired. You are watching the mass production of death. The armories of the king are filled with thousands of these modular macuahuitls. You realize that by making the weapons efficient, you have made the flowery wars much more lethal. A warrior who can replace his blade in the middle of a fight is a warrior who never stops killing. You feel the sleeper's guilt once more. You wanted to improve their art, but you ended up improving their slaughter. You are the engineer of the obsidian edge, and you realize in the past, progress always has a sharp black reflection.
The Feathered Logistics. The Tribute Network.
Tenochtitlan is the heart of a massive tribute network. Every 6 months, hundreds of porters arrive from the coast, carrying cocoa, jade, gold, and quetzal feathers. In the 21st century, you know about supply chain optimization and hub-and-spoke distribution. You look at the tribute list codices and see the inefficiency. The porters are carrying heavy loads over mountain passes with no rest stops. Many die. Much of the food rots before it reaches the capital. You introduce the Tlemcen Way Station Protocol. You show the administrators how to build a series of post houses every 20 miles along the main roads. Each house has a clean water supply, a grain silo, and a fresh relay team of porters. In the 21st century, We call this logistics management. You also show them how to use a standardized crate made of woven reeds. By standardizing the size of the loads, you can calculate exactly how many calories a porter needs to move a specific amount of jade. The wealth of the empire begins to flow into Tenochtitlan like a river. The markets are filled with fresh fish from the coast and tropical fruits from the jungle. You have made the empire profitable, but you see the social cost. The neighboring tribes, the Tlaxcalans and the Totonacs, are working harder than ever to feed the Aztec beast. Your efficiency has made the Aztecs more demanding. You are creating a pressure cooker of resentment. You know that when the Spaniards arrive, these tribute tribes will be the first to join them. You are the one who perfected the system of economic imperialism, and in doing so, you've ensured that the Aztecs have no friends left in the valley. You are the sleeper of the Emerald Throne, and you are watching a world where wealth is becoming the weight that will eventually pull the city into the lake.
The kinetics of the Otlotl. Physics of the flying death.
The year is 1495. You are standing in the Calmacac, the elite school for Aztec warriors. In front of you are 500 young men, their bodies lean and covered in cotton armor, Ichkawipili. They are practicing with the Otlotl, the spear thrower. In the 21st century, you see this as a primitive tool. In the 15th century, it is a biological rocket launcher. But you, the sleeper, see the physics of leverage and torque. You watch a young eagle warrior throw a dart. It travels 50 meters, but it lacks the power to pierce a thick shield. You step forward. You take a piece of charcoal and draw a diagram on a flat stone. You explain the law of the lever. In the 21st century, we know that the Otlotl acts as an extension of the human arm, increasing the distance from the pivot point, the shoulder, to the point of release. You show them how to increase the mechanical advantage. By adding a small weight of polished stone to the end of the thrower, you create a balance mass that increases the rotational inertia. You explain the formula $V equals \omega $, where $V is the velocity of the dart, $\omega is the angular velocity of the arm, and $R is the length of the lever. By lengthening the Otlotl by just 10 centimeters and teaching them the wrist snap, release, you increase the kinetic energy of the dart by 40%. The darts are now hitting the targets with the force of $F equals m \a$, traveling at 150 kilometers per hour. They're no longer just spears. They are armor-piercing projectiles. You have just turned the Aztec infantry into a long-range artillery unit. You see the look of mechanical awe in their eyes. They think you have given them the breath of the wind god. You know you have just given them the power to kill a man in steel plate armor from 60 meters away. You are the engineer of the flying death. And you realize that you just deleted the tactical advantage of the future Spanish cavalry.
The Jaguar Doctrine. Modern Special Forces in the Jungle.
Training the infantry is one thing, but the Eagle and Jaguar warriors are different. They are the elite. They are the special forces of the empire. In the 21st century, you understand asymmetric warfare and small unit tactics. Usually, Aztec war is a loud, ritualized event, thousands of men shouting, drums beating, and bright feathers everywhere. It is a show of power. You show them the shadow protocol. You teach the Jaguar warriors the concept of camouflage. Instead of bright yellow skins and jaguar heads that can be seen from miles away, You show them how to use mud, crushed leaves, and charcoal to break up their visual silhouette. You introduce the leapfrog movement. You teach them how to move in 4-man fire teams, covering each other while they advance through the dense rainforest. You show them how to use psychological suppression. Instead of shouting, you give them whistles made of clay that sound like a dying man's scream, the Aztec death whistle. But you teach them to use it in a specific acoustic sequence to disorient the enemy in the dark. By the end of the training, the Jaguar warriors are no longer just warriors. They are ghosts. They can move through a camp of 1,000 men without snapping a single twig. They can eliminate a target and disappear before the body hits the ground. You have taken the 21st century Navy SEAL and SAS doctrine and translated it into obsidian and cotton. You see the Tila Tony smile as he watches a demonstration of a night raid. He sees a world where his enemies disappear in their sleep, but you feel the sleeper's coldness. You have taken the honor out of their war and replaced it with efficiency. You are the architect of a silent slaughter, and you realize that your 21st century mind has turned the flowery war into a total war.
The Pharmaceutical Garden. Biotechnology of Oaxtepec.
The year is 1500. The empire is at its peak, but the city of Tenochtitlan is crowded. With 200,000 people living on a lake, the risk of a biological event is constant. You are taken to the royal gardens of Oaxtepec. In the 21st century, we call this a botanical research center. To the Aztecs, it is a living library of every plant in the world. You see the priests of healing, Tisitl, working with herbs, barks, and mushrooms. They are good, but they don't have microbiology. You introduce the sterilization and extraction protocol. You show them how to use high-proof fermented sap, Ockley, to create tinctures, concentrating the active ingredients of the plants. You use your 21st century knowledge of pharmacology. You identify the salix, willow, bark, and show them how to extract a primitive form of aspirin for the warrior's pain. You show them the ephedra plant and how it can be used as a stimulant for scouts. You introduce the concept of clean room surgery. You teach the Tisitl to wash their hands and their obsidian blades in boiling water and alcohol before touching a wound. The death rate in the city hospitals drops by 60%. People are no longer dying of simple infections. You have created the most advanced medical system in the pre-modern world. You are the master of the Emerald Pharmacy, but you have a secret mission. You are looking for a way to create a biological shield. You know that in 20 years, the smallpox virus will arrive. You look at the local cowpox equivalent in the animals. You begin to experiment with primitive inoculation. You are trying to use 21st century virology to save a civilization from an invisible enemy. You are playing a game with the gods, and the stakes are the lives of millions. You feel the sleeper's desperation as you realize that even with all your science, you are fighting a ghost from the future.
The Solar Clock. Synchronizing the Empire.
Tenochtitlan is a city of time. Every movement is dictated by the Xiapowali, the 365-day calendar, and the Tanapwali, the 260-day ritual cycle. You see the massive sunstone, a 24-ton masterpiece of basalt. To the Aztecs, it is a map of the universe. To you, it is a clunky operating system. It is accurate, but it is hard to use for daily administration. In the 21st century, we understand time management and synchronization. You introduce the sleeper chronometer, You show the priests how to build a series of sundials across the city that are synchronized to the Templo Mayor. You introduce the concept of the standard hour. Usually, the Aztecs measured time by the position of the sun in the sky. Mid-morning, high noon. You give them precision. You show the market administrators how to use water clocks, clepsydras, to regulate the trading hours. Suddenly, the city of Tenochtitlan is running on a standardized schedule. The logistics porters arrive at exactly the same time every day. The guards change their shifts with the precision of a Swiss watch. The economic output of the city increases by 20% because the friction of time has been removed. You have turned a religious empire into a synchronized industrial power. You see the Tenochtitlan looking at the sunstone not as a mystical object, but as a tool of governance. You have taken the mystery out of the stars and replaced it with management. You are the keeper of the solar watch, and you realize that by giving them time, you have taken away their eternal now. You are the bridge between the ancient sun and the digital clock, and the shadow of the gnomon is pointing straight toward the end of the simulation.
The smoke of the stranger. Psychological debunking.
The year is 1519. You are standing on the balcony of the palace of Moctezuma II. The air is heavy with the scent of copal and fear. To the east, on the coast of the Great Salt Water, strange floating mountains have appeared. Men with white skin, covered in silver scales iron armor, riding giant deer horses, have landed. The city is in a state of religious panic. Moctezuma believes the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl has come true, that the white god has returned to reclaim his throne. You activate your psychological intelligence protocol. You do not let the myth control the narrative. You stand before the Tenochtitlan and his council. You use your 21st century logic of mortality. You show them a simple experiment. You take a piece of the silver metal, a broken piece of Spanish armor brought by a scout, and you show them that it can be scratched with an obsidian blade. You show them that the giant deer bleed and die just like any other animal. You use your knowledge of demystification. You explain that these are not gods, but technological barbarians from a distant land. You introduce the mirror of truth strategy. You send a group of your Jaguar warriors, the ones you trained in the Shadow Protocol, to kidnap a single Spanish scout. You bring him back to the city. You don't sacrifice him. You study him. You show the Aztec people that he eats, sleeps, and screams in pain. By the time Hernan Cortez reaches the gates of Tenochtitlan, he is not met by a terrified population, but by a city that sees him as a foreign resource to be analyzed. You have just removed the greatest weapon of the Spanish, fear. You have turned a holy war into a tactical defense. You are the sleeper of the false god, and you have just ensured that the first encounter is on your terms.
The night of the Emerald Storm. Urban warfare redefined.
The Spanish are inside the city. They have tried to seize the palace. They have tried to kill the Tenochtitlan. In your history books, this is where the Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows, begins. The night the Spanish try to flee across the causeways. But you, the sleeper, change the script. You use your urban warfare protocol. You treat Tenochtitlan like a 21st century kill zone. You do not let them flee. You use your civil engineering knowledge to sabotage the wooden bridges of the causeways before they can move. You turn the canals into a trap. You use your upgraded Otlotl units, the ones you gave armor-piercing physics, to fire from the rooftops. You use the acoustic sequence of the death whistles to create a 360-degree environment of psychological terror in the dark. The Spanish horses, panicked by the sound and the slippery stones you covered in grease, are useless. You use the leapfrog movement of your Jaguar teams to eliminate the Spanish tercios one by one in the narrow alleys. You do not fight a traditional battle. You fight an asymmetric insurgency. By the time the sun rises, the Spanish force is not just retreating, it is annihilated. You have destroyed the expedition of Cortés before it could ever take root. You stand on the top of the Templo Mayor, watching the smoke of the Emerald Storm clear. You have saved Tenochtitlan from its first invasion. But as you look at the survivors, you see the smallpox marks on the skin of a captured Spaniard. You realize the ghost from the future is already here. You have won the battle of steel, but the battle of biology has just begun.
The biological shield. The last stand of virology.
The year is 1521. The city is at peace, but a new enemy is walking the streets. People are falling ill with high fevers and painful spots. The great sickness is spreading. In the 21st century, you know this as smallpox. In 1521, it is a civilization ender. You activate your emergency quarantine protocol. You use your 21st century epidemiological data to save the empire. You do not hide the sick in the temples. You create isolation zones in the southern chinampas. You use your sanitation fleet to move the healthy away from the infected. You introduce the concept of inoculation variolation. You show the Tissito how to take a small amount of the fluid from a healing patient and introduce it into the skin of a healthy person. In the 21st century, we call this a primitive vaccine. You are using 15th century biotechnology to build a wall of immunity. The death rate, which should be 90%, drops to 15%. You have saved the brain of the empire. The Aztec bureaucracy, the military leadership, and the farming elite survived the biological strike. You have effectively immunized a civilization against the future. You are the master of the Emerald Shield, and you have just created the first post-virus empire in history. You see the city of Tenochtitlan growing, not as a victim of the West, but as a rival to it. You have changed the timeline completely. Mexico will never be a colony. It will be a hydraulic superpower.
The final archive and the digital sunset.
The simulation is beginning to flicker. The Zumrut, emerald green of the lake, is turning into blue digital noise. You have lived in Tenochtitlan for 30 years. You have seen it grow from a ritualized island into a synchronized industrial metropolis. You have one final act as a sleeper. You go to the base of the sunstone, deep within the great temple. You place your final archive. It is a synthetic diamond plate, etched with a laser-fine tip, using the simulation's God tools. On it, you have written the genetic code of the virus you fought. You have written the history of 2026. You have written a message in both Nahuatl and binary. The sun rises because of our work, not because of the blood. The future is a river we built together. You seal the archive in a box of obsidian and bitumen, burying it beneath the foundation of the Templo Mayor, exactly where the modern Zocalo will be built. The digital desync takes hold. The smell of chocolate and copal is replaced by the smell of ozone and plastic. You feel the sleeper's grief as you watch the feathered serpent statues dissolve into pixels. You touch the warm stone of the pyramid and whisper, You are eternal.
The Awakening. The Echo of Tenochtitlan.
You wake up in your chair in New York. It is April 10th, 2026. Your room is quiet. The hum of your computer is the only sound. You look at your hands. They are no longer painted with the blue of the Jaguar warriors. You are Sleep of the Historian once more. You immediately open your laptop. You search for Archaeology News Mexico City. You see a headline from 2 hours ago. Major discovery under the Zocalo. Unidentified diamond object found beneath the Templo Mayor. The report says that the object contains data patterns that defy modern understanding of 16th century technology. Your heart stops. The Emerald Protocol worked. You didn't just witness the Aztecs. You became the architect of their survival in a parallel reality. You look out your window at the modern world. You see the skyscrapers and the cars. You realize that you missed the rhythm of the lake. You have seen the peak of human hydraulic engineering and the ultimate victory of biology over steel. You are no longer just a content creator. You are the bridge between a drowned empire and a digital future. You are the man who saved the sun.